So, Mr. Wayne Danai, what made you want to start this pod? In fact, what is this podcast about?
What is it about?
Mm.
Great question. Got no idea what it's going to be about yet. It's going to be for very selfish reasons initially, because it's all about my own personal development in terms of developing this skill set of conversational speaking, getting more comfortable speaking in front of the camera, speaking, with this microphone, speaking. So yeah, very selfish reason initially. But later on, I'm hoping that my audience can give me steer me in the right direction in terms of, what the theme of the podcast should potentially be about.
Nice. I'm looking forward to it. But in order to look forward to it, I want to hear a little bit about yourself. Tell me a little bit about your story, where you came from, what you're doing, what's led you up to this podcasting point.
About myself. Okay. Well, I'm a business coach. That's what I am. That's my profession. I coach, I consult on business. Primarily, I help people create and sell online courses. That's my main thing. I love and enjoy doing. What else do you want to know about me? I am from London. I'm from a small town called Brixton. You may have heard of it. But yeah, I travel a lot, so I consider myself a digital nomad. I'm a Dubai resident, so I'm there a lot of the time. Dubai, London, I travel a lot. But yeah.
Nice. But this isn't your first business venture. What made you want to go into business coaching?
Okay, good question. I never ever planned to be a business coach. Okay, so I've always just been in business. Yeah, so from a teenager, essentially I was unemployable. Okay, so I left school with no like GCSEs or no academics. So I never really wanted to have my own business or anything like that, but that's kind of just how it happened. So I don't think I was employable. I think I probably tried to apply for some jobs. I don't think it went too well, and I kind of just gave up, and I just thought, you know what, I'm going to have to work something out myself. When I first started out in business, my first ever business was in construction industry. That, a lot of ups and downs in that business, but eventually that business started doing really, really well. I had no construction. I say I got no like academic qualifications. I had no construction skills either. Right, I developed a skill in business more because I had no choice, because I had no skills. Yeah, so that's how my business ventures developed. After a while, I became quite good at business because I had some success. Yeah, so I made, I'm trying not to like.
It's okay, you can humble brag.
I'm trying not to humble brag, but let's put it this way: I done well in business. Yeah, so people came to me, asking my advice for business, for because people saw my growth and saw I'm a teenager with no skills, no like academic qualifications, and they saw me kind of have some success in my life. Naturally, people were like, "How did you do it? How did you do it?" So like I had that most of my career, to be honest. People say, "How do you do this?" Like especially when you're young and doing it, because people are like, you're young, and how did you manage to do this thing? Or how are you able to? How did you achieve this thing? And I've done some positive things with my success. I've done a lot of like charity work, and I donated, and I've done a lot of, I've done youth work, voluntary, and a lot of things, to kind of give back, and that kind of positioned me quite well, because people then started just asking how I achieved, what I did at a young age. So that's how it started, and eventually, someone twisted my arm, and asked me to, was probably asking me for about 2 years, and eventually, I agreed to consult in their business, and for a fee, because before the only coaching or consulting I done was free. Friends, family, people asked me, just share. But then, eventually someone I completely didn't know literally like badgered me for about 2 years. And I gave in, and I was like, all right, cool. I'll charge you this, and I'll show you how to do this and this. Because at the time, I was doing, I knew how to run ads, like Facebook ads. I knew how to do those things, and I had a lot of, knowledge in terms of, sales and marketing, just through my experience, and just from having a lot of failures. To be honest, like I done really bad at business. I probably should leave that bit out. I done really bad at business. Okay, the reason why I started doing well, because I made mistakes for maybe 5 solid years of just doing everything wrong. And that kind of set me up for success, because if you spend 5 years of just doing everything wrong, after that point, there's only do you know what I mean?
There's only so much failing you can do.
There's only so much failing you can do. And then you get to a point where okay, the next thing I do, this must be it.
Yeah.
So I kind of went through that period for about 5 solid years of failure, as in making no money, or just about covering my costs. So that's kind of that's where my business education came from. Just lots and lots of failure.
And failing fast from the sounds of it, because 5 years to get to somewhere successful in business is quite good, to be honest, and to the level you got to as well. Because I met you at the peak of your business, so I didn't even get to see you prior.
Well, yeah, I guess so. But at the time, it doesn't feel like it's quick. In hindsight, you look back and feel okay, that was just a 5-year period. But at the time, it didn't feel quick at all. It took a lot of resilience, a lot of grit and resilience to keep, to keep going and keep, getting up and dusting yourself off and getting back in it. Because if I'm honest, it's probably more, I kind of felt like I didn't have any other choice. I feel like I kind of had to make this work. I was I was so committed to, to having some success in business, because I had limited options outside of creating my own business. So I kind of had to make it work. So yeah, that's kind of why I stuck in there for 5 years. Like I said, you say it's quick, but for me, it felt like a lifetime, because like I said, I was doing really bad for a solid 5 years. Yeah.
I was going to say, how did you push through them failures?
How did I push through?
But you literally just said it. You said you had no other choice. In your mind, you had no other choice but to get through.
In my mind, yeah. I didn't really have any other choice but to make it work somehow.
Where do you think that resilience came from?
Where did it come from?
Or that discipline to push through?
Probably like my background in boxing, probably. Yeah. That's probably where it came from. Yeah. So when I was a kid, I was 13, 14, I got involved in boxing. Yeah. So that helped me a lot in my life. If I'm honest, if I really, it's a good question, because if I really think back, without boxing, there's no way I would have had the discipline to keep doing what I was doing. There's no way. Because before I done boxing, when I was a kid, I had no discipline. My mum spoilt me. I was spoilt. I was a spoilt kid. I had zero discipline, right? So boxing really, really helped me ingrain that discipline muscle. So when I, in hindsight, yeah, I have a lot to, I owe a lot to boxing, my local boxing gym, where I grew up. Really, really helped me a lot. My girls, but that's what they do.
Because I can imagine when because you used to fight, right?
Yeah.
In terms of your boxing, you didn't just train, so you had to push through that.
Yeah.
But even then, in terms of your fighting, you didn't win. You might have, but you didn't win every fight, right?
I did actually. Yeah.
Did you actually?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, so that didn't add to your resiliency. But was there a time where you ever went into the ring with an opponent that you thought, this guy's actually way more experienced?
I'll be honest. I didn't have that many competitive bouts. That's why. I'm not saying okay. I didn't not lose because I was like Muhammad Ali. I just didn't have that many competitive fights. Right. I didn't have that many. But I got beat up a lot in sparring. Yeah, I got beat up a lot in sparring. So, I don't want to go off on a tangent. But
it humbled you and made you resilient from the sounds of it.
Absolutely, yeah. So the main reason I never lost, I never had that many competitive. I wasn't that, even though I developed a lot of discipline, I wasn't as disciplined as some of my friends. They were taking it very, very seriously. I didn't take it as seriously. I got injured a lot. I had to have surgery on my shoulder a couple of times. So it kind of had me out of the ring for a couple of years at a time. And yeah, so Yeah, but yeah.
It's kind of identifying failures and how you're still able to kind of push through it.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to go back to, so you've had successful businesses in the past.
Mm-hmm.
You've now moved by not even your direction, by people telling you they needed your services,
Yes.
into moving into business coaching and
Yes.
business consulting.
Mm-hmm.
What have you found the benefits of that being? Because you obviously used to have to be in one location and you had to work very hard. Genuinely, when I met you, you had zero free time. You didn't do any of your passions. You weren't boxing. You weren't doing anything like that. So talk to me about the transition from your being in the construction world,
yes,
to then being a business coach, and the differences you found.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, the main difference was the location freedom. Yeah. Because before had an office in London with 14 staff, had to be there all the time. Right? That's why I learned a lot of my lessons in business, because when you have staff, it really helps you to appreciate that how important culture is and how important leadership is. I really developed a lot of leadership skills by having a team of staff. But the reality of it is, a big part of leadership is you have to show up. You have to be there. It just doesn't work. Obviously, you might hear stories or see things, and it seems like once you get to a certain point in business, you can kind of like take a big step back. And that might be the case, if you really grow the business, if you have if it's a huge company. But even though I was still a fairly small company, I had 14 staff, I had to show up. Without my presence, I don't think things would have operated very well. And I tested it. I traveled for some time, and when I come back, it'll be a mess. Yeah, because you need a figurehead in the business. Like, you need someone there. You need someone to be leading at the front. You need someone setting an example. So even that was a huge lesson in itself. But even though I enjoyed that experience, at the same time, I wanted more out of life. I worked really hard. I just didn't want to I didn't want to feel like I had to be in any fixed location for a prolonged period of time. So that's probably the best thing about becoming a business coach and consulting people on business. I could do it from anywhere in the world. I've got a fully comprehensive online course. I help people develop their own online course. I think that's probably what sort of given me the lifestyle and the time freedom, because there was a time when I was making a lot more money than I make now, but I was not living a good life at all. I was depressed, not feeling. Depressed is a big word. I was I was feeling a bit down, especially compared to what I am now. Now I'm pretty cheerful because I live on my own terms. A lot of people feel like just because you've got a business, you're your own boss, but not really. When you've got a business and a lot of staff, they're your boss. Your staff are your boss. Your clients are your boss. And when we have a bricks and mortar type company, unfortunately, you have to kind of physically be there, and that's what I found. And that was the main negative for me. And I felt like I said, I was in business from a teenager, and over 10 years in business, I felt like it was time for a change. I felt like instead of running things into the ground, it was kind of time to kind of just, walk away and just look for a new challenge. That's what happened.
It sounds like, from a amalgamation of the things you've done,
yes,
business, taking a lot of leadership experience from your actual business,
yes,
doing charitable work, boxing, having the discipline, it feels like you've really found your place, especially because you love to travel so much.
Yes.
Don't you call yourself the sunset chaser?
Some would say.
Some would say.
Yes.
Some would say.
Yes.
So you're now able to do that. How does it feel to be able to have an impact on other coaches and course creators to achieve their own goals? How does that feel?
For me, the like what I enjoy most is a lot of people that are in coaching and consulting have the wrong business model, because they're sort of bought into the hustle culture, and they still, a lot of people have come from employment, so they're used to they're just in a habit of working really hard and sort of still kind of being in a fixed location, and there's a lot of sort of bad habits that you can pick up from whatever it might be, education, being in a corporate role, whatever it might be, and they pick up these bad habits and they kind of go down a road of working really, really hard and structuring their business in a way which doesn't actually give them much time freedom at all. There's a lot of clients that started with me and doing a lot of one-on-one coaching, which is which is a great starting point, but you have to be very intentional and deliberate in moving away from one-on-one coaching. Same again, I didn't even realize this until kind of recently. There are a lot of coaches that don't have any online course. They just coach. Yeah, they coach without a course, and I didn't even know that was a thing.
No.
I mean, I knew it was a thing, but I didn't know the extent of it, because some clients, I mean, I've had clients that have been fairly successful, and they haven't got any digital product, and for me, that's a huge mistake. Okay, because you need to develop something that your clients can refer to, something that sort of does the heavy lifting for you, right? So important to develop that digital product, the online course. It doesn't always have to be online course, but at least you need to have an ebook. You need some resources that's going to do the heavy lifting for you, instead of you being at the beck and call of your client, or just doing coaching calls or emails. There's a lot of people that are doing things in a way which is just not efficient. So I kind of enjoy taking people on that journey. So I've got clients that have been doing really, really well for themselves, but however, just don't have. They remind me of myself a few years ago, in terms of they're doing well, they're making money, but they've got no time. Their health might be suffering. They're not able to travel. They're in a fixed location, a bit miserable, and they remind me of myself. So it's for me, it's really rewarding helping people sort of come, helping people on that journey to have that location freedom. That's more than anything. I mean, that's my main thing, like kind of creating structures that allow people to have time and location freedom. It goes without saying, I'm going to help you make some money. But for me, that's kind of my focus, because to be honest with you, some of my clients have already got money. Money's not really the issue. The problem is the way that their business model is not designed to actually give them the time and the location freedom. So I mean, the money, it goes without saying, I help my clients make money. That's the easy thing to do. Because you can think about anything you do. You could just, anything that makes money, you could just do more of it and make more money. So the making the money thing is not the challenge. The challenge is having a business model which allows you to work less and still scale your business and still be able to make more and more money without working harder and harder. That's the kind of the genius. That's the kind of, that's kind of what most people need help with. Like, how do I make more money without working any harder?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Where do you want to take your business coaching?
Where do I take it?
Yeah.
Where do I take it? If I'm honest with you, this might sound unlike me. Okay, because I'm quite big on not having limitations. All right. However, when it comes to my coaching business, I do kind of want to have some limitations in terms of how far I want to take it. I don't want to be considered. I don't want to have the biggest online course or coaching company, but I just want to be considered as the best. In time, I just want to be considered as the gold standard. But how? Now, the size of the company or the size, that's not really my primary focus. My primary focus is developing an amazing product that's considered the best. Because in my experience, that's the kind of the cheat code in business. Once you kind of position yourself as the best, there's no limitation to what you can do. So that's kind of my focus. My focus is not like how much money or the size of the company or the business. It's more about I want to create the best possible product that's out there. I want to be known as, okay, you've got this person, that person, that person. But if you want the best, you have to go to Wayne Danai, and that's what I want. That's my focus, and that attracts a lot of money. That attracts success. That attracts there's no limitation to what that can attract. Well, that's always gonna be my focus. That's the cheat code. Really, I'll teach my clients that. If you want to really be successful, you have to focus on positioning yourself as the best or one of the best in whatever it is that you do. And for me, that's a cheat code. Once you do that, you become unstoppable.
It's an interesting word you use, cheat code. And we know why we use it and in the terms that we use it.
Yeah.
I kind of want to address one point with you though.
Okay, go on.
Cheat, right?
Yeah.
In the sense of cheating means you're cutting corners and not putting in the work.
Okay.
And I think we've found a lot of people are looking for shortcuts. And in my head, when I hear cheat, I hear shortcuts. I'm thinking gaming. How can I use a little thing that's going to get me away from doing the work that's required? So talk to me a little bit about like what that looks like. Why people try and, I guess, cut corners and the impact that has.
No, I get that completely. But, you know, sometimes you can't blame people because there's a lot of bullshit online. There's a lot of bullshit online. A lot of like get rich quick schemes and people like, you do this and, you know, in 6 weeks you can be a millionaire and all this shit. Like, so sometimes you can't really blame people because of the messaging that they're seeing on their social media. But the reality of it is there's no way around doing the work and having and actually putting the work in. You have to put the work in, unfortunately. I wish there was. You know, if there was such a thing, you know. And to be honest with you, if there was, you know, I'll be honest, in my life, I've done things that's made me fast money, okay? And just from experience, anytime I've done anything that's kind of made me fast money, it's kind of taken my attention away from what I should be building, and it never lasts long. Do you know what I'm saying? So like, whatever it is, quite often, there may be some sort of shortcut, and you might be able to have some success in a short time, but it will not last. Like, you have to be putting the work in. Like, if you're not, like, you have to appreciate, you have to be building something. You have to always be climbing. If you're not climbing, it's like you're slipping. There's no in between. Like, you always have to be working. And the reality of it is, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be challenging. And, you know, there's simple ways. There are things that you can do that are simple. There, you know, people often ask, what's the easy way? There's just for the record, there's no easy way. But there are ways that are more simple. There are, you know, some steps that you can follow that's going to simplify your process. It's always good to have that guidance, have a roadmap in terms of, okay, what do I need to do first? What's next? So it's, you know, there is a simple way to have success in business, but there's no easy way. It's going to require some work. It's very important. And it kind of brings me on to my next point, is how people try to run marathons and they can't yet crawl. And what I mean by that is when people want to throw thousands of pounds at advertising, but I have no idea what they're doing. So let's talk about that. Give me a little insight in terms of why people shouldn't be running and putting thousands of pounds on ads when they don't know what they're doing. But look, I'm not even saying don't do that, okay? But if you became my client, I would advise you against it, okay? But the reality of it is, if you want to do that, then go for it. Like, I had to do that. I had to make that mistake. I had to go through that process myself. And that's why these principles are ingrained in me. So maybe listening to me say this or someone else is not going to be good enough. Because in your mind, you want a shortcut. So you're like, I've got a budget. I'm just going to pull it all in advertising, cross my fingers, hope to die. But the reality of it is that rarely ever works. Okay, you have to put the work in. You have to be a servant to your market. You have to actually provide value to your market. If you try to just feel like you can just run ads, if you running ads without doing the groundwork is just like, you know, the chance of you having success doing that is like winning the lottery to me. Okay, because especially now where the world is at an all-time high of skepticism. Okay, you have to develop trust in your market. You can't just throw money and feel like, oh, I'll run an ad, it looks fancy. Fancy don't work anymore. It used to work years ago, maybe 20 years ago. Fancy might have given you an edge. You know, if you had a really aesthetic looking, you know, website or whatever it might be. But now, authenticity wins. Authenticity beats all of the aesthetics that you're going to see online. You have to be courageous enough to be authentic. You know, people have to develop a trust for you. You know, if you try and do the shortcut, you try and do it in a shortcut way, you're probably gonna waste a lot of money. But that might be part of your journey. Maybe you have to go through that. I know I did, I advise people to not do the mistakes I made, because I made those mistakes. I thought I could just throw money and have some success. But the reality of it is, the reason why, look, I've talked about success, right? Well, you've asked me about success, so I've answered those questions. But the reality of it is, I've had a lot more failure then I have success.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what qualifies me in business. I've made every mistake. So the thing about me is that I don't really, and when I started in business, I never had much guidance. I never had any like formal education, but I did have some courage. I had some balls in terms of I was willing to kind of make mistakes. And I think I've probably made every single mistake that can be made. From my original marketing, my original sales and marketing campaign involved me riding a bicycle and putting leaflets through people's doors. I've done ads on radio stations. I've done ads on television. I've done ads on all the social media platforms, Google. I spent a lot of money on Google, and I've made a lot of mistakes. And that's kind of that is what qualifies me as a business coach more than anything else. Not my successes. I've had some success, don't get me wrong. I've had a lot of success, don't get me wrong. However, that's not where my ability to coach people comes from. My ability really comes from the mistakes I've made, the years and years of mistakes I made, the mistakes I made over and over, the lessons I learned from those mistakes. So yeah, I just want to get clear on that. Like, the main thing that qualifies me to do what I do is the mistakes I've made, not the successes.
I think what's also interesting is, I know we talk about failures and coming back from them, but around being a humble student.
Yes.
Because a lot of people come into this thinking, I know everything, I'm going to do what I want, but there's a reason why they need a mentor, right?
Right.
Do you want to kind of touch on mentor and
as to why they need a mentor?
Yeah. Or just even being a humble student and how you found that's benefited you. Because from what I've been amazed at is that I obviously see the exterior of you, and I also know the challenges you face and that you continually work on.
Yep.
And for me, it's quite amazing to see someone who's so successful that is humble enough to be like, what can I do better? Where have I gone wrong?
Yes.
Can this be improved?
Yes.
This is not a skill that most people even are aware of.
Yes.
Not just of you, but just in general. I don't think people are aware of this. I think we were talking about it earlier in terms of extreme ownership.
Yes.
So I kind of just want you to talk to me a little bit about being a humble student and taking extreme ownership over decisions, mistakes, etc., etc.
Well, like, as you heard me say, in our
circle.
Yeah, in our circle. When it comes to, like, the easiest thing to do in life is to point fingers and complain and to kind of be a victim of circumstance, right? But what's a lot more challenging is to actually consider, how you can make sure that these mistakes are not repeated, or how you can take complete ownership of whatever is going on around you. So when clients, it could be anything. It could be, clients. It could be, when it comes to, delivery, when it comes to your sales and your marketing, when it comes to things that are going to potentially go wrong, it's so easy to, point your finger. But what can be challenging, what I struggled with for many years, is taking complete ownership of all of your challenges, all of the mistakes, and everything that goes wrong. And you find that it's a lot more. It's frustrating. Get that habit of pointing fingers and complaining is going to cause a lot of frustration to you. So you're probably going to do yourself more harm than anyone else. So it's important that everyone kind of gets in and I had to learn this, all right, in terms of taking extreme ownership of what it is that you do. But you also mentioned about why you should have a mentor, right? So look, when it comes to having a mentor is just for anyone that values their time more than their money. Okay, and I had to learn this, again. I had to learn this the hard way, because I didn't get a mentor for many years, and I just, I probably wasted 10 years in total when it comes in terms of things. If I had a mentor, I probably could have learned in 1 year. If I found someone that was just ahead of me, someone that has more experience than me, the chances are I probably could have, I could have arrived at the answer a lot sooner if I was wise enough to, or if I was courageous enough to actually say I need some help here. Where especially as a young man, I had a lot of ego. I didn't reach out for help for a long time, so I probably wasted 10 years just of trial and error. But it is what it is, and that's kind of what's got me to this point now. Because and maybe if I didn't go through those experiences, I probably wouldn't be as confident as I am when it comes to coaching business, because I'll be still, you know, I might not be as sure in myself, if I didn't go through that experience. But yeah, so like I said, if you've got the difference between having a mentor and not, it's just time. Okay, chances are, if you're thinking about getting into business, you probably have all the skill and capability and know-how especially now, you've got Google, YouTube, you've already got find everything out yourself. Chances are it's going to take you, a lot more time to do it yourself, rather than just finding someone that's ahead of you and getting them to guide you on your journey.
If there was one thing that people could take away from today's episode,
yes,
what would it be?
Oh, that's a good question. One thing to take away is start before you are ready. Okay? I am not ready. I am not prepared, and I'm not ready to start a podcast. However, I'm here. Okay? So, if you want to take anything away from... Oh, sorry, I should clap my hands. Even that, I'm making these schoolboy errors. Like, I'm touching my hands, probably messing up the mic. If anyone, the one lesson, from today's podcast is start before you are ready. People have asked me, I told a few people I'm starting a podcast, who say, where's it going to be? Is it going to be on Spotify? Is it going to be, are you going to put it on YouTube? People ask me these questions. I have no idea. I have zero idea what I'm even going to do with this podcast, okay? But that's the whole point. I'm leading by example. I'm outside of my comfort zone. I'm starting before I'm ready. And these are all the things that I teach my clients to do. I encourage my clients to do, is to, don't waste time trying to make everything perfect. If I waited, to be fully prepared to record a podcast, I probably wouldn't have recorded a podcast maybe a year from now, maybe, because I would have to do research. Think about it. What you should do before starting a podcast, you should probably watch a lot of podcasts. I've watched hardly any podcasts. Yeah, you should probably watch a lot of podcasts. You should probably do some research. Maybe read a book on podcasts. Maybe you should do lots of research on YouTube about what, like, a podcast format. Okay, but the reality of it is, it's gonna take a lot of time.
Procrastination as well.
And it's procrastination, absolutely. So for me, I'd rather lead by example and be like, do you know what? If you want to do something, just grow some balls and just get on with it. Yeah? Have the courage just to get started. Just get started. Don't wait until you're ready, until you're prepared. Just get on with it. And I'm leading by example with that. I know that this ain't going to be like number one on the chart for podcasts. However, for me, it's a personal success. It's a personal win, because I don't really want to do a podcast, but I'm here.
We're here.
Yeah, when I say I do want to do one, I'm not prepared to do a podcast. I'm not ready to do a podcast, but I'm here.